Morning, welcome back to another vid, and so soon after my last vid, which was yesterday. Considering that it took me 2.5 months to make the one yesterday, to make another one so soon is just something else. Unbelievable, I'm on a roll. Well and truly back, we'll see. Wait and see, I won't do another one now for another 2 months. But that's not the aim. Hopefully I can start making them more regular. One a week ideally, but we'll see. No promises on that front. So yeah, if you watched my video yesterday, or whenever you whenever you're watching this, then maybe it wouldn't have been yesterday, I guess. But anyway, yes, as it stands, yesterday I uploaded a retro gaming pickup vid, and this one, as I touched upon in the previous vid, is going to be exclusively for Xbox One. In fact, you can see it in the title of the vid, and you've clicked on it already, so you know what this is. This shouldn't be a surprise. You shouldn't be clicking on this thinking, I thought it was going to be PS1. That was the last vid. This is Xbox One. So yeah, I've got 7 games altogether. I'll talk a little bit about them. Now, one of them is still sealed, so I've not yet played it. I mean, I know what the game's about. The other ones I have played. One of them, admittedly, I played about 5 minutes. I just bought it the other day. It's just come out. So I've not got a great deal to say on that, but we'll try and wing it. We'll see what I can do. So yeah, I'm loving the Xbox One. Great bit of kit. Got a PS4 as well, just in case you're wondering. And it's brilliant. I really like it. But just, yeah, for the last few months, I've been into the Xbox One a lot more. But I do kind of fluctuate. I go back and forth, or alternate, I should say, between both systems. They're both brilliant. It just so happens that I tend to, so far, this generation, I tend to favour the Xbox One, but that could change. So who knows, who cares? They're both great systems, and it shouldn't really matter. They both look the same, quite frankly. So yeah, I'm playing it behind me. As you can see, I'm playing a game called Massive Chalice, which sounds like a euphemism. May well be, I don't know. But yeah, I've had the game for ages, and I thought, you know what, I'd better start playing that. It was a downloadable game only. I don't think there's a physical game available for it. And I think it was one of the free games on Xbox Live. I say free, you're technically still paying for it. But yeah, they offer a lot of good stuff, as do PlayStation. But I tend to find Microsoft with the Xbox One offer more and better content. But I guess that's down to just opinion, isn't it? Personal taste. So anyway, I'm not going to get involved in some kind of war. They're both brilliant systems. I've got them both. Keep your hair on. If you haven't got any hair, keep your skin on. We've all got skin. If you haven't got any skin, that's weird. Don't even want to go there. That's a weird thought. Let's get on with it. Xbox One pickups. The first one is arguably the best of the bunch. It's certainly the one that I've played the most of thus far anyway. And it's Forza Horizon 3. And this is the Ultimate Edition, so it comes, as it says on the back, with... it says early access to the full game. Well, I didn't get that. But anyway, it comes with Car Pass, a VIP membership, the Forza Hub app, whatever that is, and the Motorsport All-Stars Car Pack, which I guess in a way is kind of like the Car Pass. It just gives you more cars. So, free DLC. I say free, you've kind of paid for it already. So this retails, I believe, for $100. I think I got it for around about $75, which is about... give or take 50 quid, 55 quid. So a lot of money, but considering it's the Ultimate Edition, it comes with the Steelbook, there's a load of DLC on there, or you'll get future DLC, I should say. I think that's a good deal, because at 55 quid, sorry, what was it in dollars? Like $75, might have been a bit less, maybe $70. Then the Standard Edition, it would have been like 60. So for a little bit more, you get the better version. That's the way I look at it. So there's a slipcover, and there's the spine, slightly different to the usual Xbox One cases. And then we've got the Steelbook, and in a gold kind of finish. It looks really, really nice. And there's the disc inside, like you need to see that. And there's the code with the VIP stuff. Nope, there it is on this side. You can't see the code, but I've used it anyway. So that's that. Now, there's a few people on my friends list who have played this game already. And it really adds to a competitive edge, because you can see how fast they've gone through like speed traps, and it makes you really want to beat it. You know, there's you can race them online. You just see them going around in their virtual kind of drivatars, as they call them, and it's just really nice and very immersive to see them racing around, just doing their daily thing. So that's good. You can add them to your kind of club. I think you can choose 4 people to join your. I don't know what the correct terminology is, but it's essentially a club. You can choose like 4 racers to add to your team, to add to your club. And you can hire and fire people. So let's just say, for example, I've got 4 other people, and let's just say they're all YouTubers for the sake of it, and they're all in my club. And then let's just say you personally, let's say you're not currently in my club. I could have like an invitation by the game, if you like, to race against you, or to try and find you on the map. And then I find you on the map, I race you, and if I beat you, when I beat you, I'm then given the option of adding you to my crew. Now, what I can't add you if I'm already full up with the other 4, so I'm going to have to fire somebody else. It literally is a fire button as well. So I can either choose to fire them, fire someone else and hire you, or just to totally discard you and not hire you as part of my team, my crew, my club, or whatever you want to call it. So it's a nice kind of fun thing to have, and it really makes you think, oh, should I fire them? Should I hire this person? So you may be watching this, and I may have fired you. If I have, I'm sorry. It's just a game. I may hire you again in the future. Or I may have hired you, and if I have, I may fire you in the future. I may not, but it's just a bit of fun. It's a game, and it's a nice little thing to put in there. And the game is basically based in Australia as well. It's exclusively based in Australia. So you get all the great outback, the Australian kind of terrain. The weather conditions are really good. There's water everywhere as well, which you can splash up from. I say everywhere. I mean, in certain sections of the map. You can drive in there or race in the city as well. Yeah, it's a really good game, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if I'd go as far as saying it's a system seller, but I'd be very tempted to say that. And it's funny because I used that phrase, system seller, on Quantum Break going back about 6 months or a year or whenever it came out. I did mention it. I think I said on vid, I wasn't quite sure if it was a system seller, but it could be. Now, a few months or a year later, whatever it's been, I'll absolutely retract that. Quantum Break is not a system seller. It's a decent game. It's not amazing. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be. It's a decent game. But yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I said that, or at least hinted that it could be a system seller. It isn't. It wasn't, and it isn't. This possibly is. It's a really good game. If you've got, did I say good game there? I'm going to say good game, obviously. But if you've not got an Xbox One and you're thinking about getting one, then you've got to get this game. It is brilliant. The whole Forza series is fantastic. Now remember as well that there's a big difference between the Forza Motorsport games and the Forza Horizon games. The Horizon ones are purely arcade, and the Motorsport ones are more of a simulation. But to be honest, you can change so many things in the menu system that you can almost make it arcade, very arcade driven. So it's not as hard or as a scary a game as you may think with the whole kind of simulation thing. There's somewhat of a simulation game down here, which I'm going to show you. Now, that game may put off a lot of people. This one shouldn't, or Forza Motorsport shouldn't either, because it's very customizable almost. So I just hear a lot of people, I thought I'd mention that because I hear a lot of people say they're put off by playing the Motorsport games or even the Horizon games because they think it's hard and challenging. It's basically an arcade game. And if you think it's a simulation and you play it and you still think it's a simulation, I don't know what to think. It just isn't. It's very arcade driven. So it's a really good game, and arguably, possibly, maybe a system seller. If you've got an Xbox One, you have to get it. I'd go as far as saying that. Okay, now the next game. Yeah, I mean, this game comes in for a lot of stick because it's an annual sports game. It's FIFA 17. I guess all the Madden games, the NBA games, the hockey games, whatever else, they all come in for a lot of criticism because people say, I mean, kind of understandably to a degree, that there's not a lot of changes from one incarnation to the other because they're yearly updates, and how much progress can you make within a year? Well, the answer is not a lot. And in many ways, at least my gut reaction to this, in many ways it's kind of taken a bit of a step back in terms of gameplay. Much like I thought 16 took a step back from 15. I thought 15 was a lot faster, a lot more fluid. 16 was slower. It's kind of a halfway house. It's faster in places, but slower in others. It's become more of a simulation. In many ways, it seems to me as if EA Sports are trying to do a Konami and make it more of a simulation, whereas FIFA was more arcadey. So, and I don't really like that. I want it to be more arcadey. It's not a bad game, don't get me wrong. I'm just getting used to it. I've only played it a few times. But my gut reaction is I prefer the old one. That's my gut reaction. I'm sure as the months go by, I'll come round to this. But my gut reaction is I prefer FIFA 16. And I'm not quite liking the changes. One of them, for example, there's like a shield button. You can hold them off. So when you're trying to get your foot in, like you can push someone off, like the defender or the attacker, hold them off basically to kind of shield and protect the ball. And that's fine, but I find it gets in the way more often than not, and it's almost abused by the computer and other players, and you can abuse that move as well. And also, it's the typical FIFA thing I find, and I think Pro Evo's probably got this as well, where every loose ball is almost guaranteed to go to the computer. It's almost programmed that you're never going to get it. And I find it frustrating. It's still ultimately a football game and a fluid, somewhat fluid football game. Some of the goals you can score are fantastic, much like Pro Evo as well. But there's something about it which makes me think, at this moment in time, I kind of prefer the old one. Now, there is a good feature on this you won't be able to... Well, yeah, actually, there you are. There's a guy at the top there called Alex Hunter. And it's kind of like a sort of be a pro mode. And you can play, you do play the role of Alex Hunter. It's a very cinematic kind of opening. It's almost a game in itself in a way, where you play this young kid who goes from being a kid on like the playing fields, essentially playing for his local team, to being a professional footballer. Now, I won't give away any spoilers. In fact, well, not many. I'm only about, I don't know, an hour into the game, and there's a lot of the game to go, of this particular, the journey mode, as it's called. But so far, and all I'm going to say is what happens within the first half an hour or something. It's not a spoiler as such. But basically, you're playing Sunday League football as a kid. You're talking like 10 years of age or whatever, maybe not even that. And the cinematics follow it through, a bit of acting, voice acting. It's very good, and it looks nice and all the rest of it. It follows you, Alex Hunter, and your mate, who I think is called Gareth Walker. And long story short, your best mates, you're playing for your local Sunday League club or whatever it is, and then you both get signed for the same club. So whatever club you choose, you can choose any Premier League club that you want to play for. And you both get signed, and you both make your debut at the same time and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you're picked for the team by the manager, sometimes you're not, you're on the bench. And after a while, I don't know if this is the same for every single gameplay, but this is how it's working for mine. So I'm going to guess it's the same for everyone. But after maybe 4 or 5 games with the first team of being somewhat involved, you're like substitute, I think, more often than not, you are sent out on loan to get first team experience, play every minute basically. And you're given a choice of 3 teams. It's the 3 teams that were relegated from the Premier League last season. So it's Newcastle, Norwich, and who else was relegated? Can't even remember. Whoever else was relegated, they're in the game as well. So you can choose one of those 3 teams. Aston Villa, that's who it was. Now, I chose to go to Newcastle, so I've played about 4 or 5 games in Newcastle. I'm doing really well, and I'm enjoying the game. I'm doing pretty well there. So that's as far as spoilers go, really, because I don't know what happens next. I don't know if you have multiple seasons. I don't know if you can get transferred to another club. I don't know if your loan deal expires before the season's out, and if it does, I'm not sure if you can choose to stay at Newcastle, where I've chosen to go to, or Villa or Villa or Norwich or whoever else you choose to go to. I don't know if your loan is terminated. I'm not sure what happens next because I'm only just a few games into my loan stint at Newcastle. But one of the things I like about it, like I say, your best mate is Gareth Walker now. He hasn't been sent out on loan. You have. And he goes in the game. You see it acted out. It's quite well done. It's a bit cheesy. But you see it acted out in the game and through the text messaging system. You see him kind of ignoring you as he's getting a first team place, in my case at Manchester City. That's the club we signed for. He's in the first team and he's playing all the games and he's getting this ego now. He's really arrogant. And I've been sent out on loan to Newcastle. And remember, we're best mates. We grew up as best mates, staying at each other's houses and playing for the same team and all that kind of stuff. And that's perfectly detailed in the build-up to the game as well. You see it all acted out. But he goes from being your best mate and giving you, like pep talks and come on, you can do well, you can make it. Let's do well for City. You score a load of goals and good luck and we're living the dream. He goes from being your best mate to an absolute knobhead and you want to smack his face in. He's really arrogant. He just dismisses you. It's funny how it kind of works. It's cheesy, like I say, but it's really well done. And it's funny because you and Gareth Walker, your best mate, almost at the start of the game, you discover this other guy who has a professional contract. I think his name is Danny Williams. And he comes across as really smug. He's this arrogant little bugger, and you think, oh, you're so arrogant. And you and your mate, Gareth, you don't like him, and you can choose like answers that you want to give him, like kind of text-driven. He'll ask you a question, then you can choose which answer you want to give. So it's kind of almost like an adventure role-playing kind of element behind it as well. So you start off not liking this Danny Williams. You think he's so arrogant, he's got his contract, and you want to smack his face in. But as the game kind of goes on, Danny Williams, funnily, it's not a spoiler because it happens very quickly. Danny Williams is at the team that you signed for on loan. So he's at Newcastle with me. And it turns out, actually, he's not bad. He's quite a good lad. He's just a little bit cocky. He's almost, a bit of a wide boy. But he's a really kind of likeable person when you get to know him. He's just got the kind of slight bit of arrogance, but it's almost like he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's just kind of, he's living the dream, if you like. He's not taking it too seriously, but it's just funny how you can go from really disliking Danny Williams and really liking, obviously, your best mate to just a few games later really liking the guy who you disliked and really thinking your best mate is a real tosser. He's not your best mate at all. He's just looking out for himself, and it's just a game. I'm just getting heated up thinking about it. I want to smack Gareth Walker's face in. Who's your best mate in the game? But yeah, so it's funny. It's a good game. I like it. The journey, that is that element of the game they've put in. It's quite good. It's a bit of a gimmick, but it's a nice little feature to put in. You know, last year what they did with FIFA, they put the women's football in, which at the time, funnily enough, I thought would be a bit of a gimmick, but I played it quite a bit. And the women's game is in this one as well, or at least international teams anyway. And I've been playing that, and I like it. I think it's a good inclusion. I thought it would be a little bit silly. I didn't think I'd really play it that much, but I am. It adds an extra little... well, it's just an extra thing to have, isn't it? An extra option to play for the game, and good for the series. So, yeah, it's got the women's football, it's got the journey, which is a nice inclusion. If you're into that whole kind of, is it called FUT, the F-U-T? Is it you kind of like create a team and you can buy and trade players and stuff? I've tried it. It's not really my thing, but I may get into that. Online, I'm not interested in. Despite loving football, I have never been into playing football games online. I don't know why. It might just be the fact that it's very competitive. Maybe that's what kind of puts me off. I don't know, but I'm just not really into the online stuff, so I play it offline. So yeah, anyway, there we are. FIFA 17 with Marco Reus on the front cover of Borussia Dortmund, which is a bit of a weird inclusion because, you know, he's a popular player, but is he really a worldwide famous player? I'm not sure. He's certainly not up there with obviously the likes of the Messis and the Ronaldos, but I guess it's a bit stale using those guys now. You've got to kind of mix it up a bit. So I'm all for it. I'm all for him being on the cover. I thought it was a bit unusual. I thought there could have been a few others on there. But that's that. So next game. I talked about that for maybe too long. Next game I've got is, this one is still sealed, but it's kind of an overhead kind of point and click, SimCity kind of build style game. I don't know what genre it comes under, but it's Tropico 5, and is this a special edition? Yeah, the penultimate edition. Now, I don't know if it's the penultimate edition, but one edition very recently was available a few months ago as a free download on the PlayStation 4, which I downloaded it. So that's probably one of the reasons why I've not played this, because I've got it on the PS4 essentially. As I say, I don't know if it's the penultimate edition. Maybe this one's got a few extra features which the PS4 one doesn't have. I guess I'll soon find out. But yeah, I'm really into this kind of game, in theory. You know, over the years I've played many of these, like the SimCities, the, what else? Like, kind of a Command and Conquer, but obviously that's more kind of war-based. But I mean, in terms of that overhead kind of view, maybe something like a theme park or a theme park world, you know, that kind of thing. So the SimCity is probably the best example. So this was very, very cheap. I think I picked this up for about $10 a couple of months ago. So yes, I will play it eventually, but having the PlayStation 4 version means that, I don't know, I may not get to playing that soon. I hate that as well, where the screen goes blank if you don't use a TV for some time. But anyway, minor complaints. Next up is a game that was a digital-only release up until maybe about 6 months ago, and then they released this game, but it was like a shortened, limited edition, limited content version. I still haven't really worked out what it is, but long story short, this one here has just come out a few days ago. It's Killer Instinct, and it's called the Definitive Edition. Now, for me, it's been really confusing because, as I say, Killer Instinct came out as a digital-only game, console exclusive for the Xbox One, and it came out, I think, in Season 1 and there was Season 2, and then these other extra things, like you could get like the classic arcade version, and it wasn't really obvious, at least to me on the outset without investigating it, it wasn't obvious which one you were getting for your money. They were constantly releasing characters, and it was like, well, do you have to pay extra for these characters? Because sometimes you'd see them in the marketplace on Xbox Live for like $1, $2, $5, and I thought, well, if I was to buy the digital version, am I getting those characters with it? It just wasn't clear. It really wasn't clear. And I know a lot of people had that problem as well. Maybe it's really obvious when you look into it, but from the outset, it wasn't obvious what you were buying. And then they released Season 2, digital only, and it was like, well, if I buy Season 1, do I get Season 2 digital as well? Or have I got to buy them separately? it was a bit of a cluster, and that's what happens, I guess, when you make things digital-only release. But I think I know they released something called a combo pack, and I'm guessing it was Season 1 and Season 2, but I'm sure it was something that you need, even though the combo pack was a physical release 6 months or a year ago, I'm sure you still needed the online key to play it. So essentially it was just a box, it was like a code, it wasn't a disc, it was something weird like that, which merely added to the confusion. Now, thankfully, they've somewhat remedied or rectified that, because this version is a disc version, and it is the definitive version, so you get everything. You get all 26 characters, as it says on the back, 20 stages, so 20 different backgrounds, seasons 1 to 3, because since the first 2 there's been another one which has come out. So basically, you get everything on this disc, and that's a much clearer picture. You know what you're getting. Whereas I just didn't know what I was getting with Season 1 or Season 2 or Season 3 digitally. I didn't really have a clue, but you know what you're getting with this. It does what it says on the tin, or it does what it says on the CD, in the box. You buy this, you're going to get everything on the disc, and that's what I like. The one thing I'll say about this game is that it's brutal. It is so difficult. Now, I'm not a massive fighting fan. I mean, I like playing them, don't get me wrong, but I'm not very good at them. And maybe it's just me, I don't know. But I find that after maybe just a couple of fights, because it's the kind of game where you can put together ludicrous combos, I find that my hands are literally aching. I mean, I don't know if you can see there, it's kind of red. I was just playing it earlier on my knuckles, from where I was like kind of holding the controller down, or my hand kind of on my lap. And it's a mark has been indented into there. It'll disappear after a few hours, I guess. But yeah, just your hands actually kind of hurt. I like the game. It looks really pretty. The graphics are very, very good. Like the fatalities and all that kind of stuff. You know, the combos, very impressive. If you've got the dexterity to do 3,000 moves within the space of 6 seconds. But I'm just not particularly good at it. Now, next up is a game that I've played a little bit, but I've got to be honest, I'm so disappointed in this. I'm glad I've got it. It doesn't play a bad game, and ultimately, gameplay is the most important thing, right? That's what it comes down to. Gameplay conquers all. It's better than graphics, it's better than anything else. Gameplay is all that matters. And from a gameplay perspective, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. But the game itself is shambolic. It is really, really, really poor. And that game is Rugby 15. Now, it should be obvious straight away from the, look at the spine. It's not even aligned in the middle. It's like right down the lower part of the box. It just looks weird when you align it with all the other games. So I'm not quite sure what the thinking was behind that. And if that wasn't enough, you look at the back, and there's 2 screenshots, as it were, but they're kind of sort of not in-game. They're like, like cutscenes, if you like, when you go over for a try, and also when there's like a line out, and then there's another just kind of a graphic at that top with the guy just throwing the ball. So essentially there's no in-game screenshots. So if that didn't give you any, if that didn't set alarm bells going, then that does. No screenshots. But still, I thought I'm going to get it because it was $10. Obviously retail for like 50, 60, but no one was buying it. The reviews were scandalous. But I thought at $10, can it really be that bad? Can it be that bad for $10? And the answer is yes, it can. Because whilst gameplay-wise it's okay, as I say, it's severely limited in terms of options. The rights, when it comes to... what's the word I'm looking for? Jesus, what do you call it? When you've got, like, the Premier League rights and all that kind of stuff. I can't even think of the word. It's escaped me. Whatever it is. The licensing. The licensing is pretty much non-existent. There's a little bit in the game, but there's not a lot in there. The commentary's poor. It's quite repetitive. The gameplay's got a lot of faults. There's a lot of gameplay glitches in there. When it's actually playing, when you're playing the game, as I keep saying, it's quite fluid. It's okay as a starting point for these guys who do... who makes it? Maximum Games, who I don't think have got the best reputations anyway, but I stand corrected on that. But I guess it's a starting point. But ultimately, it falls short on so many levels. So like I said, the licensing level, the commentary's not great. The biggest thing of all for me, I know it sounds ridiculous, but guess how many stadiums there are in this game? This game has got 1 stadium. It's not as if like there's 10 or 12, which would be limited in itself. This game has got 1 stadium, and you can either play in day or at night. I'm not even sure, I'd have to check, but I'm not even sure there's weather conditions. I'll have to check that. Don't quote me on that, but I think that may be the case. 1 stadium. So every team... international based, which doesn't have the licensing, or domestic based, and some do, some don't have licensing. All teams play in one stadium. Now, for a game to come out in 2016, or was this last year, 2015? Either way, a game to come out in the last year or two. In fact, it says 2014 on the back. I guess it would be, wouldn't it, with 2015. But for a relatively new game, a current-gen, modern game, to come out, a sports game with one stadium is absolutely criminal. It is criminal. So I'm really disappointed in that game. Without question, if you watch a bit of a spoiler alert, I guess, if you've not watched it, but if you did watch my previous video that I uploaded yesterday, I mean, you could be watching this 100,000 years from now, but the one I uploaded yesterday was my Retro Gaming's pickup video, and that had Jonah Lomu Rugby on the PS1. That is head and shoulders, in terms of graphics, commentary, playability, choice of stadia, weather conditions, head and shoulders above this Rugby 15. So really disappointed with it. Its only saving grace is that the playability is okay, and I want to stress, just okay. So I was going to show that one, but I'll leave it to the end. That's the one I played for just a couple of minutes. It's just come out just a few days ago, or a week or so ago. Next up is a game that I was hinting at before about being more of a simulation. It's WRC5, so World Rally Championship, is it? Is that what it stands for? It doesn't even say on the back, but I think that's what it stands for. It's rally racing after all, and there's the cover. And I really like, silly thing to say, but I like how the 5 is in green. It's just an extra colour. It looks nice, because usually the Xbox One games are blue. No, sorry, not blue. The next one's blue, funnily enough. But they're usually red or orange or just the white and grey. And it can just look a bit boring. So every now and again, when they mix it up with a bit of green or a bit of blue, it just makes it look better from an aesthetic perspective. I know it shouldn't matter, but it does. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, now this is, maybe it's just me, but this is a really, really hard game. It doesn't come with any instructions or anything. And you probably see that sticker at the top there. Don't ask me why, but every time I buy a new game, I always get that sticker, which is obviously on the side there, and I always put it in here. It could be vertical, it could be horizontal, whatever, but I always put it inside for some bizarre reason. It's just a little weird thing. No idea why I do it. Maybe, I guess, to remind me that I bought it first, and I have been the only owner, although why that would make any difference, I'm not sure. It's just pretty weird. I guess a psychologist would have a field day trying to figure out why I do that. I'm sure others do it as well. If not, maybe it's just me, I don't know. But anyway, yes, it's a really good game. Graphics look good. It's your standard rally game, so don't expect anything, out of the ordinary. A lot of licensing in this game, but the thing with this game is because it's much more of a simulation, unlike the Forza game that I was saying before, you've got to be very precise, you've got to be very accurate, and the slightest mistake, you're going to go off course, your car's going to topple over, you're going to crash, you'll have to restart from a checkpoint. It's very, very challenging, so which in turn can result in a very frustrating experience. But like many of these kind of games, if you learn the controls, if you learn the game, if you master it, it's very, very rewarding. But I think if you go into this game not really understanding what rally racing is all about, you're in for a very rude awakening, because you'll come off the tracks very easily, especially in the snowy conditions, very slippery, of course. And you're probably not going to like it. You're going to think, what is this bollocks? Because you're just not going to stay on track. But if you learn the controls and you understand the mechanics behind the cars that you're driving, it is very rewarding. So I'd recommend it to people who obviously love those kind of simulation games, or if you're thinking about something a little bit different from your standard fare, your arcade kind of fare. Because, like I say, if you dive into this, you're not going to like it. But it is a good game. It's just really, I'd say, for quite hardcore people. Now, last but not least for this particular video and this particular current-gen Xbox One vid is a game which has just come out. I've installed it. Naturally, I've put the sticker in the side, and as you can see, it's XCOM, and it comes with a few little leaflets and stuff, which are pretty rubbish. I don't care about. But yeah, it's XCOM 2. There's the front cover, and there's the spine, blue. See on the end. It just adds to the variety. It looks nice. It shouldn't matter, but it does. So really, really pleased to get this. For some reason, the cover is a little bit misaligned, and that bothers me, so I'm going to have to put it back in. There we go. So, yeah, now this game came out, the original one, years and years ago. Was it probably kind of like the early to mid-90s? It came out on the PC. I think it was also out on the Amiga. It was out on the PlayStation 1. I remember Owen, Labosu77, did a gameplay series of XCOM featuring a load of YouTubers. And that was really great to watch. I was part of that. I think I was one of the stars of the team. If I wasn't, just pretend I was. So that was good to watch. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. That was a long time ago. And now I was aware of the game, but I didn't really have any. I'd kind of forgotten about it essentially. But watching Owen's videos going back 3-4 years, whenever it was, it really made me want to get the game again. And I eventually did. I got it on the 360. I've got it on the PS3. That was the previous version on the last gen systems. But I never really got into it. I played it a little bit, but I just guess with limited time, and it sounds lazy, I know, and playing other games more importantly, it just meant that I didn't really give it a chance. But when I heard this was coming out, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to play the old one on the 360 and the PS3. I'll put it to one side. I've got it, so it's there if I want to. I'm just going to go dive straight on in with this modern version. Now, I've only put it on for a few minutes, so I couldn't really tell you a lot about the game. I know it's meant to be very, very hard and very challenging. Again, a bit like World Rally Championship. You've really got to be into these kind of games to get the best out of it and to really appreciate it. Because if you don't, you're going to go in there, you're going to get caned. It's very, very difficult. But if you've got the patience and you're into that kind of sci-fi scene, then you're really going to like this game. So you can't make anything out from the back, I'm pretty certain of that. But I'm sure you're all aware of it. It's a really, really good game by all accounts. Just played a few minutes, but already I can tell I'm going to get into it. But it's not the kind of game, because it's so involving, it's not the kind of game you can put on for 5 minutes. Unlike, say, a FIFA, you can put that on and just have it one game and then knock it off and do something else or play another game. With something like this, you've really got to put it on for like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, maybe more. You've really got to get into it and you've really got to immerse yourself. So if you've got spare time on your hands, then I think you'll really like it. But yeah, technically, I know I could have waited. I did pay like about $40 for it, which is about 25 quid. I probably could have waited, but greed took over, what can I say? So there we are. There's the Xbox One games. There's the bit of spinach, if you're into that kind of different viewage. Viewage? Where'd that word come from? And at the back there, we've got obviously the one steel sealed game, which is the Tropico 5, even though technically I've kind of got it on the PlayStation 4. So yeah, really pleased with all of these. Xbox One is a brilliant bit of kit. It's funny because I heard, and this is probably gone back a few weeks, but I know Tootie UK, Stu, he picked up PlayStation 4. And I'm going to slightly paraphrase, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he did mention in the vid, I'm pretty certain he used the phrase, you've kind of got to ask yourself the question why, or something like that. And how that came about is he was in Game or Game Station or whatever game shop there is over there in the UK these days, and he was pondering over whether to get a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, but he noticed that the Xbox One was cheaper by like $20, $30 or something than the PlayStation 4. And he said on camera, he said, well, you've kind of got to ask yourself the question why. So that kind of pushed him towards getting a PlayStation 4. And I think it's kind of, I'm not having to go at Stu for obviously having that opinion, but clearly he doesn't really know a lot or didn't know a lot about the current gen. He's much more of a retro gamer. And I think maybe obviously now he's got his PlayStation 4, he's going to get into his PS4 and the modern gen gaming in particular. But I think that kind of remark, it made me realise, I guess, that the Xbox One still has got a lot of ground to make up for. Because even when you get someone like Stu, who's not a massive current-gen gamer, when even he gets the PlayStation 4 version, or the PlayStation console over the Xbox One, simply because the Xbox One was cheaper, and he thought, therefore, there was something in it, I think that says a lot about the Xbox One. It shows that they made a lot of enemies to begin with, as they did. Was it E3 of 2013 with the whole DRM issues as well as other things? And they got off to a very bad footing, the whole Kinect thing. And I think it's a shame because the Xbox One is a brilliant system. There's so many features that you can do on an Xbox One that you can't do on a PlayStation 4. Honestly, it's a system which is really, really good. PlayStation 4 is brilliant. I've got one. I love it. All the rest of it. But it really makes you realise. And when Stu said that, about just kind of ignoring the Xbox One because it was cheaper. That was basically his reason. It made me think, yeah, the Xbox One's still got a bad reputation, not just amongst gamers, but even amongst gamers who are not really into current-gen stuff. So anyway, I guess I'm repeating myself, but I just thought that was interesting. But for me, they're both brilliant systems, and with the advent, obviously, of the Xbox One S, I think, if you're interested in getting an Xbox One, now is the time to get it. Don't get the old one. Get the Xbox One S, because there's a lot of features on that, and it looks very, very good, especially if you've got a HDR TV. But of course, it complicates things even further because you've got the Scorpion coming out probably this time next year, which doesn't help. I know it's still going to play Xbox One games, but it's essentially a much beefier system than the Xbox One stroke Xbox One S. And then you've got the new PlayStation, which is coming out, but I think that's still going to play PlayStation games. Then you've got the Slimline Edition PS4, which is coming out. It's so complicated. Modern gaming is getting so complicated, releasing all these different systems, which play the same games, but they give you like a better performance, a bit like a PC. You know, you can buy a PC game, but put it on your PC, and it might look alright. Put it on my PC, it might look better. Put it on someone else's PC, it might look absolutely amazing. It depends how powerful your PC is. And really, console gaming is quite clearly going in that direction, isn't it? It's almost getting to be like yearly updates of like extra RAM and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure where I stand on that. I think it's good in a sense that we're getting updated, you know, technology essentially, so we're not lagging behind several years. But on the other, it just, I don't know, it takes away a bit of the fun from console gaming and couch gaming and makes me think, well, you might as well just get a PC. Why not? I might as well go out and buy one of them. But I don't really want to do that because it's all mouse driven and I know you can use a controller. But I don't know, I just kind of like sitting on a couch, sitting on a sofa bed or whatever and playing games. But anyway, gone off on a little bit of a rant there. So we'll wrap this video up. Once again, there's the Xbox One games. Xbox One, love it. PlayStation 4, love it. Brilliant systems. Really into current gen gaming. But obviously, I'll always love my retro. Now, until my next vid? What is a next vid? Until my next vid, then I'll see you later. Now, that video should be hopefully sometime next week. I really do want to start to get making regular videos again. I'm completely stumbling over my words. Because I've, you know, other than the video yesterday, I've not made a video for 2.5 months, so totally out of touch. But anyway, until my next vid, which hopefully will be next week, thanks for watching, see you later.